one of the first Hondas to go through a full refresh. And when I mean full, Honda really is going that route. Suspension, geometry, except for the engine, and pairing everything more or less with the CVT. This is a 2023 Honda Civic EX. I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides, and I'm going to go over all the details from the Sport, which is the base model. It doesn't mean that it's sporty and fast, because this is going to have more horsepower, and the Touring. Up front, LED headlamps. The Touring, full LED. And whether you option the hatch or the sedan, both will have 6.7 inches of clearance. The grille will be different for the sedan, and on the hatch, the sedan, the badging will be lower. The hatch, the badging will be higher. The grille will have a different pattern. Underneath the hood, 1.5 liter turbocharged, 180 horsepower, 177 pound-feet of torque. It will be paired to a CVT transmission, which all of them will be. If you option the Sport, you're getting a naturally aspirated 2.0 liter. The EX and the Touring get the more powerful engine, 22 horsepower more, 39 pound-feet of torque more. Weight distribution will be better in the Sport trim. This is at 61.5, 38.5. Also, you're getting 17-inch alloy wheels, multi-spoke. When you go into the Touring, 18-inch. The Sport will get an 18-inch gloss black alloy wheel. Both of them are going to look a little bit more sporty than the EX, and this is the middle trim. But you're going to be getting 33 mpgs to the city, 42 mpgs on the highway, 11.1-inch disc reading is in the front. A 10.2-inch disc reading is in the rear. It's a solid, it's a ventilated. This was a retuned suspension last year. It's a carryover. Reworked suspension bushings, ball joints, and dampers. Honda notes this will reduce harshness and noise by 20%. The coupe-like profile inspired from the European fastback design, which this is the staple for every Honda, because now the new Honda Accord has that slope roofline. Especially when you go into the hatchback, it's going to look a little bit more sporty, and yet you still have the same clearance. When you're optioning the Sport, it looks a little bit more athletic, which in this, I'm a little confused why Honda didn't do it for the EX. Maybe call it EX Sport and have an EX as the base. Because when you put the base as the Sport, people tend to go to it because of visual aesthetics, and yet this is going to be a more powerful engine. You're going to get a little bit less gas consumption, quicker 0 to 60s, and the interior amenities, which you're going to see in a second, is going to have more in the EX. Obviously, the Touring will have the most, but you cannot option anything. You buy the vehicle as the trim level states. Both the Sport and the EX will get LED turn signals, brake lights, and tail lights. The only difference really is when you get into the Touring, then everything is full LED. The rear is going to be more settle, which brings this to the class of Honda, because the Accord, HRV, and the CRV will look very similar. The only one that's going to look a little bit more athletic will be the Pilot. Even though this is not as athletic proportioned as the hatch, you still get the traditional line that runs from the taillight all the way to the headlamp assembly, which copies or mimics the Accord, and it's a smaller vehicle, about $1,400 difference from the Sport to the EX, in which you get the bigger motor. That itself, to me, is enough to drive me to this next tier. Quick release, going into 14.8 cubic feet, which is about 2 cubic feet less than the Accord. Underneath, though, you'll receive a spare tire, which you will not receive in the Accord. Split fold the rear bench at a 60-40 split in the back, and that will open up to increase cargo to the Civic. 180 horsepower. Let's go inside and start up this turbocharge so you can hear that exhaust note. Going inside the EX Civic. Headroom, 37.6 inches. Legroom, 42.3 inches. 6-way manual adjustment, black cloth seats, heated because it's the EX. The Sports will not receive that. Leather will be on the shifter, which you do not receive that. Also on the Sport, the mesh grille inserts that run the whole length of the dashboard. The gloss black will surround it and give a 2-tier and a flat dashboard layout. 7-inch infotainment screen is mounted to the top, which will be the same for the Sport. Both will get Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, AM, FM, streaming Bluetooth audio. Put it into reverse with the reverse camera, full trajectory, and it expands when you turn the steering wheel in different camera layouts. Dual climate control settings, a USB-A port with a 12-volt wireless charging pad will be in the Touring. The key fob for the new Civic. You get that retro pattern that designs all the way. Cloth where you're going to rest your arms so it is soft. An area that you can move the tray back and forth. A deep storage pocket. Leather wrapped steering wheel, which comes standard in all trims. Multi-function with adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist. The stocks. The gauge cluster has a digital reader that can go through an array of information for the driver. Both will receive 8 speakers. A moonroof for the EXL. The dashboard and doors integrate together. The A-pillars are going to be a little bit more small and sleek. It's going to be more of your everyday materials pretty much everywhere, except for right here where they put the cloth. One touch up and down for the front windows, and a medium-sized storage pocket that you can fit a flask or a beverage. For the back seat, headroom at 37.1 inches, legroom 37.4 inches. The back seat will get USB ports when you go to the Touring, storage only behind the passenger seat. The door panel is stripped of even the gloss black, so you get a matte black. Everything harder materials except for where you need it to be. A smaller storage pocket that you can fit a medium-sized flask or a beverage. Sitting into the center, headroom is no issue because it's a sedan. Leg space, the same thing. I will be sharing butt and shoulder space. Feet space is good because the rails are pushed up, so if you do not want to option the new Accord, the Civic has a substantial amount of room for 3 occupants at 6'3" my dimensions. 22 horsepower more, 39 pound-feet of torque more than the Sport. The Sport's going to look a lot more athletic. It may drive a little bit more rugged because these are smaller wheels. 0 to 60 is about 8.8 roughly in the Sport. This one's about 7.5. The SI is around 6.5. So there's a huge difference, and these are all rough estimates. Maybe you could get it faster, probably tune the engine if you want. You can do a lot of things to make these cars go a little bit quicker. But realistically speaking, this is not a vehicle you're wanting to take on the track. You're looking for a bargain deal, and that's what you're getting with the turbocharged engine. I like that it's only around $1,500 of an upgrade, because you're not just getting that as an upgrade, you're getting interior components. Now, it's not as superior as the Touring, but you wouldn't expect that because the Touring's about $3,500 to $4,000 more than this. And now what we're going to do is just put it into the S, which is Sport, to demonstrate that speed. Once it gets to that ratio it needs to be, which is about 2.5 to 3 RPM, it does take off and go pretty quick. Comparing this against the Toyota Corolla, I like the styling of the exterior of that, unless you go to the hatchback of this. The hatchback of that one still looks a little bit more sporty, but it's a little bit more small and cramped, so you actually have more space in this one. And they're not copying each other because Honda is going the European style, whereas Toyota is going the Japanese style. I'm gonna see the performance again. Now, this is obviously going to take me to some things I like and dislike, and we're going to start off with what I like about the vehicle. It's not a huge difference in upgrading when you're looking at going to the top trim. 5-6 grand the most. It's not a huge difference in payment. You get leather seats, The front seats are also power adjustable, wireless charging pad, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. That's the only one that will get that. You also get the Bose premium sound system. Again, the only one that will get that. Kind of gives me some negatives, which we'll get to in a second. I also like how they started their design with the Civic, because the Civic is one of those entry-level vehicles that's an everyday, but yet they've given us the sport and luxury blend. The seats are not going to be as plush as the Accord, but it's doable for adults 6'3" my dimensions. Also taking the honeycomb design that spins across the whole dash for the air vents, they put it on every model except for the Pilot. So a lot of the attributes of this vehicle was the Pilot or piloting of all of the new refresh Hondas. And I like how they made it simple and they kept the interior design very user-friendly. Things that I dislike about the vehicle, this is the middle trim. We get smaller wheels. It doesn't look as sporty as the Sport trim, and that's the base trim. In the interior, you don't get any power seat adjustments. I understand, we'll leave it for the touring, but then we don't get an upgraded screen. It's the same technology as the Sport trim. So the only thing that's grabbing me to get this is the engine. You don't even get USB ports in the back. You got to go to the touring. So everything really is derived for the touring. This would just basically be your best MPG setup, but then you're sacrificing on the exterior styling or the appearance. You're also receiving the same stereo system. So 8 speakers, 180 watts. Again, I get it, it's around $1,500 of an upgrade, but heated seats and an engine realistically isn't enough for me to say, okay, let's just jump. Unless I really want to go about a second faster 0 to 60. Another thing that I feel the Civic did right is they've given you more softer materials where you rest your arms. When you go into the new hybrid Accord, you're getting a lot of that material even where you rest your arms, unless you go to the touring trim. And I understand this is the way the industry is going. They don't want you to do packages. You could do these things aftermarket. Maybe the dealer will do it for you. Turn radius at a stop point is about 2 lanes. Let's rock and roll. Let's brake hard. I mean, the engine is more powerful. Maybe I could take some of the words back, but I would still like to see a little bit more components added, just because this is the middle trim and we're losing wheel size and aesthetics on the exterior. Here we go. This is just normal driving. You're gonna hear the engine. The steering wheel is pretty light for the most part. It's gonna be a little bit wobbly because it's about a 61-39 weight distribution roughly, so it's not going to be something you're gonna be cornering with. Huge windscreen, small A-pillars. It is pushed back, so you do have a lot of visibility in the front. We do not have the blind spot monitoring, and this model was a delete, which we still have the actual blind spot emblems. When you're doing a delete, I kind of wish they would have just put a different mirror. I do like how they keep everything seamless for your controls. You do have rotary knobs for your volume and to change the track and to lower or raise the climate control, and also to raise the fan speed. So it does make it very user-friendly, and it doesn't look like anything's missing. So I think Honda really just nailed it with a simple look, yet giving a luxury flair to it. And it gives a bit of a sportiness because this is a turbo, which they don't offer a turbo unless you get the 1.5 carryover. You're not going to get the real turbo that we all miss in the Accord, which is a 2.0 over 250 horsepower. So this would be equivalent to the new Accord, and you're getting almost the same speeds as that base engine, just to let you see what you're getting as a package. Is it better than Toyota? The drive is smooth. They retuned every single thing. It's not going to be as harsh. The Corolla, you'll feel a little bit more sporty, and depending on the tier you go, they put a sport tune suspension, where they don't do that here. It's a standard McPherson front and a multi-link rear suspension. Retuned, like I said, but it's nothing to the fact of sportiness where Toyota goes into that next level. Honda, I feel, is playing a little bit more of a safe card, but it works because it's a longevity that you're looking for when you're getting a Civic, and a drive that's smooth. I mean, over 6 inches of clearance, that's not going to be the case with Toyota. Looking back, you now have the third window that's back there, making it more visible, so it makes it feel very similar to an Accord in the interior for a fraction of the price. I'd like to thank Ocean Honda for giving us this 2023 Honda Civic EX for our car review. If you're already a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Hawkeye community. If not, click the next video, because it's going to be another Honda. The subscribe button, check out the merchandise website and Instagram, leave a comment and a like.